Hello and welcome. Today we've got Dr. Christina Rahm, and today we are going to be discussing snake venom in our waters. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and Dr. Christina Rahm can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Dr. Christina Rahm, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
I'm amazing. I just got back from Mexico last night, and I'm leaving tomorrow for London. So it's a busy week this week. Also, have had a few challenges. I was in Mexico with a couple, and the wife went out to go scuba diving, and she unfortunately had a brain aneurysm. 52 years old, 15 and 17-year-old, and then on the way back had two very close friends. One of them I worked with for 2 years, and very close friends of the family. Same thing. They both died yesterday of brain aneurysm. So it's not to mention anything negative. It's just one of those weeks, I think, for me that has been sad a little bit because of some of the stuff that's happening. But I personally am doing great, and I hope you are too, Nicholas. I look forward to seeing you in London.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing you too. And I'm so sorry that you've had to go through that this week. Um, would you like to tell us a little bit more why that happened, or would you like to move on
You
to?
know, yeah, I don't know why it happened. But all three individuals, no prior history, nothing happening. They did, have to deal with some of the stuff that's been going on in all of our lives, and chose a path that I think I didn't choose. We all have different choices. Not that one's better than the other, but we try to do the best we can. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that happening right now with blood clots and heart attacks and aneurysms. And for me, three people in a week is a lot, to have known closely and personally. Yeah.
So, do you think that our water is not safe? And do you believe that is the reason why you know, you've lost some friends?
So I've been very concerned about the land, air, and water for years, which is why some of the patents that I've written have addressed that, the pollution, the heavy metals, the toxicity that's in our earth, and unfortunately in our water, whether it's fluoride or mercury or lead or just all these different things. And then I know I have heard about the snake venom. For me, I had a product that I was going to launch just to put in the water to help protect people, to like rip things apart that are in there that shouldn't be in there by a positive negative charge. And we launched it instead as a eradication cleansing formula. It's called Clean Slate. But now I really would like to encourage people, and I have encouraged people, like when I deal with and talk to different people in the Ukraine or Japan or different parts of the world where they've been exposed to nuclear waste or different things like venom or possibilities of things being in the water, to actually put 2 drops in the water when they drink. We always tell people 10 drops in the morning and 10 drops at night, or 7 in the morning, 7 at lunch, and 7 at night. But I think right now, because of everything going on, when you're drinking water or things that you don't know what are inside of it, it would be great to help with eradicating and cleansing the water before it goes in your body. Because unfortunately, when people ask what is the most important body of water in the world, it's here. It's your body. And you may want to say the Caspian Sea or the Mediterranean Sea or Pacific or whatever. But the truth is we're made of mostly water. And when we put these things into our body, or we put things that could be in our water or in even our filtration systems, and we're drinking it, that can greatly impact it. And the problem is the way we're made, typically that will happen gradually, right, over time. And we don't know what's going on, but we can be exposed and get sick, and things can happen. So it's, when I travel, I'm very cognizant of it. I don't usually go to Mexico and drink the water, for example, or Vietnam and drink the water, just because it has things that I'm not exposed to. There's parasites that can be in water. The possibility of snake venom being in the water is definitely not out of the possibility. And we know this has happened throughout history, going back to World War II, where things were put in water. So we also know that the radioactivity over in Russia and Ukraine, all these soldiers are now getting sick from high levels of radioactivity. So, because that's been a focus of mine for so many years, because I've written patents and I'm a scientist that worked on this, I think it's very important to try to advise people to be careful what they drink and to make sure you put something that helps clean the water while you're doing it. And so Clean Slate's a product I think would be phenomenal for people to take. And one more thing, I do want to say this because I think it's important. And usually I am so big into not the fear factor. I've always said we don't want to make people scared. We want to share the reality. But every single one of the products that I made for Root, I made so it would hit a detoxification, eradication pathway, NRF2, all of that in the body, so that would help the body really get rid of the things that shouldn't be in there and really support your health and anti-aging, but really your whole immune system. And so even the Restore and the Relive grains are extremely good to help people with this process. But I hope your audience makes sure that they're very careful with what they drink and what they put in their bodies right now.
Absolutely, it's very important, especially with tap water, with the fluoride, and there's other things in there that close the pineal gland. It
Oh,
causes
yeah.
really, closes the pineal gland and causes us to be suppressed and causes illnesses like we've spoken before. How long do you think the snake venom has been in our waters?
So I've read a lot of reports. I've seen recently, I'm sure you have as well as I have seen videos on what's going on. My question I have, I think, is where is it in the water? How many countries, how many places, and for how long has this been happening? Because I know that they've cultured some of it out. I know that they've seen it in certain places. And I would just have to say that the possibility of that happening for the last couple of years could definitely be there, or even longer. Hopefully, unfortunately, and you said this earlier, I think, Nicholas, and it really hits home with me because I've had 4 children. And we don't ever want to think about child trafficking. In my family, and I'm not switching subjects. I'm going back to the water. I'm just going to say this. My family would probably never want to talk to me about it because they don't want me to worry or think that's happening, right? Because it's just such a horrible thought that people would actually use children
Mhm.
or use women or use anyone that's less, powerful than they are to hurt them or to control them. Unfortunately, we know this has been happening. This is something years ago that we were like, that's not happening. And now we're like, it was a conspiracy theory, right? That's not really happening. And now we know it's not only happening, it's one of the worst things that's happening all over the world. And so those very same people, if you say to me, those same people could be putting poison in our water, whether it is a snake venom or it's a heavy metal, because we know that's a toxin, right? That makes you not think with your pineal gland. And same thing with snake venom. Snake venom makes you not smell right or taste right, which is really odd because this is one of the things that's been happening. And as a polymolecule going through the body, as a person that's worked on human monoclonal antibodies like me, there definitely is a possibility it would be a slower process for that to impact people. But looking at what's happening all over the world, we know that there are some really bad things happening. And so to protect people, people need to be educated. People need to understand. They need to not close their minds to the possibility. And again, this goes back to even me. I have a hard time in my heart even thinking about anything that has to do with poisoning the water or child trafficking. And I hear my mom and dad in my head saying, oh, no one would ever do that. People don't do things like that. But unfortunately, they do. And so people need to be educated, need to understand that this could be a possibility. It could be happening where they live. It could have happened for years gradually, and make sure that they're protecting their family during this process. And my mind always goes to the kids and making sure that we're protecting the children. But without us being healthy, Nicholas, without you and I continuing to take care of our bodies, we can't even take care of the kids. So the adults need to make sure that they're not ignoring everything. And that if this includes my brain, because I'm so scientific and I'm such a researcher, that when it comes to, again, these thought processes of what could be happening, it's hard to accept. And I think your audience needs to understand that they definitely need to support their body. And again, getting rid of anything that's in the water that shouldn't be. And I'm going to say this snake venom could go throughout the body and could definitely impact the pineal gland. It could impact your brain, your heart, your GI, every part of the body, your mental health, your capacity to do anything. So you've really got to protect yourself against the heavy metals as well as the possibility of the snake venom that they've found in certain water systems throughout the world.
I want to be very careful with my words because of YouTube, but with the two treatments, one of them being hydroxy, um, which it ends with chloroquine. I had to break it there so the AI doesn't pick it up. And then we've got the other one, IVE mectin.
Yeah.
Um, do you believe that these two, because they were taken away, do you believe that those two could possibly be used or have been used to treat people that have been poisoned with snake venom?
So the Hydri one that I won't say the whole word, I'm not as big of a fan as the other one. The other one, but I do think both of them have the ability to help break things apart and protect the system against certain things. In fact, we know that they were used in Africa and different places to help with things like snake venom, as well as certain parasites, viruses, and bacteria. I've never understood, to be honest, the why this happened. I've never understood. It's been one of the questions in my mind the whole time. Understanding pharmaceuticals, understanding medicine, understanding science, why these two products were banned basically throughout the world. We know that when we do research, we always test on animals, right? We know that to go to humans, we first make sure that they're healthy with animals. And going back to ivy, for example, we know this is something that has helped animals. In fact, they use it, your veterinarians use it throughout the year, right, with animals. And we also know that in other countries, that these countries like Nigeria and Kenya and different places have used it throughout the year as well to make sure they protect their people. And then all of a sudden, this happens, and we're basically people act like something's wrong with you if you would use something like that. And if doctors prescribe it, they get in trouble. So for me, there's a reason for that, because otherwise, scientifically, it doesn't make sense to me. And you could point to the fact that, well, there's potential side effects if you have kidney issues, right, for IV. And my comment about that is there's a lot more side effects from taking something that you inject, than from this. So it does not make sense. And I think that we need to pay attention to that. I think when things don't add up, right, that we can't say any longer, well, we're just going to ignore that. It doesn't make sense, but just let's ignore it. No, if we're intelligent, if we are really responsible human beings, we can't go by what the media says. We can't go by what everyone's telling us to do or not do. We've got to think for ourselves. And once we give that up, we just might as well, be locked in a room. And you've seen what's going on right now in some places in China and how people aren't even able to leave. And it's just a control factor all over the world. So we really have to take things in our own hands.
Absolutely. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about the supplement that helps to clean our waters before we drink it, especially in this time where we're hearing stuff like snake venom?
Yeah. Well, and so, the Aztecs and the Incas, and I think I've talked about this a while back, they lined the aqueducts with zeolites, right? And I take a derivative of that in some of the formulas that I make, including Clean Slate, where I bring it into a formula using multiple patent pending and proprietary trade secrets to create a silica, which can actually help break things apart through the positive and negative charge while it's healing the body, but help get rid of systemically as well as naturally as possible these bad things in our bodies. And a lot of people will say to me, it doesn't make sense because how does it do that? Well, the product that I worked on has a honeycomb structure and it helps rip things apart while it's taking them out so that when they go out of the system, they don't hurt the organs in the system. One of the problems with dealing with whether it's a heavy metal or snake venom or anything is when you're getting it out of the body, you can have a major reaction and you can hurt your body while you're doing it. So you have to use something that safely helps really eradicate things out. I'm really careful not to claim things because it's a nutraceutical supplement. In the same patents I wrote, it did have pharmaceutical and biotech levels of that as well as to remediate, like I said, the air, land, and water up to the stratosphere. So my whole intention was if something's bad in our bodies, in our water, in our land, in our air, let's help get rid of it so that we can continue to grow and thrive. And unfortunately, we've been attacked as human beings repetitively, actually. And it's like a sci-fi movie, right? None of us would believe it. One of my things I loved when I met you, Nicholas, was your interest and your mind at looking into things and your intelligence of being able not to just believe everything you hear, but looking into the real root or cause of what's happening in our world. And I say this all the time, you've got to get to the root of things. You've got to help cure the causes. But if we ignore things, then we can't. And you have brought all of this to life for people so they can hear and so they can understand and so they can learn. And yes, Clean Slate, one of the formulas that I worked on, my intention was to help during everyday life, but during times when the body's really being attacked or having to deal with things that are not natural, that are not normal. And by using something natural to do that, you have less harm to the body and less side effects, right? When you use synthetic things and you use medicine, I'm not against that at all. You know that, like Ivy, that was a pharmaceutical, and I worked for pharmaceutical companies. But you also want to daily try to eradicate the things out. And so, again, I was going to launch that particular product for water, for people to be able to put in their water or green tea or juice and drink it. Now, a lot of people take it directly, but I'd like to encourage people to put it in their water now. I think it's important if they can incorporate the 10 drops in the morning and 10 at night, or 7 in the morning, 7 at lunch, 7 at night into what they're drinking every day. That would be the best case scenario for people before it even goes into the body, because you're helping purify the water, supporting the water to be clean through putting the Clean Slate into the water. And I think right now that's something, when you do bottled water or you hand it to your kids, it would be great to have it in that until we get all of this cleared up. And even after that, like, how much water do you drink that you think, wait a minute, I hope that was pure? Because even your bottled waters, and I'm sure you know this, we know now that almost all the bottled water has some type of GMO, especially in the United States. So it's just helpful if you can break that stuff apart before it goes into your body system.
Absolutely. Well, I would gladly leave the link below so that people can have a look at, the nutrients that you're talking about, so that people can protect themselves as well. And also, if they want to contact you and, they want to get involved with your projects or anything like that, or ask questions about, the products. But Dr. Christina Rahm, it's been an absolute honor to have you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
I really want to encourage the viewers to again, take control of your life, learn, don't bury your head in the sand. You may hear something on social media or on the news and you need to look into it. I encourage Nicholas's show because I think he brings to light in a very intelligent manner what's occurring without sensationalizing it. I think that's very important. For me, I have a hard time accepting things that are negative or that could be harmful to others. And Nicholas makes me feel comfortable in discussing and helping others, even in this time where there's a bunch of bad stuff going on. So I want to say thank you, Nicholas. And I want to really empower your audience, because I want to say this, if we don't empower the people that are looking into things and support them, then the world isn't going to know what's really happening. And unfortunately, we've got to have leadership right now that steps up against what's happening. And I feel like you're really doing a fantastic job of that. So thank you. And I hope people protect their water. I hope people pay attention to what's going on and listen to what's going on and really help protect their own families.
Well, thank you very much. And we'll speak again very soon. God bless you, Dr. Christina Rahm. Bye-bye.
Bless you too. Thank you.